Hi, everyone, and welcome to a special edition episode of Murrow Minutes Goes Virtual for the fall 2020 semester. My name is Mickinzie Johnson, and I'm the recruitment coordinator for the Murrow College here on the Pullman campus. And today we have a very special guest speaker here with us to talk a little bit about our research opportunities here in the Murrow College available to our graduate students, but also some opportunities available for our undergraduate students, which we'll talk a little bit more about in our spring episodes. So without much further ado, I'd like to introduce Dr. Paul Bolls, who is our new Associate Dean of the Murrow College. And Paul, I'll turn it over to you to introduce yourself.
Thank you, Mickinzie. I'm so excited to be part of this special episode of Murrow Minutes Goes Virtual, just focusing on our exciting research profile in the Murrow College of Communication. As a brief introduction to myself, this is chapter 3 for me here in Pullman. I did my master's degree here in the Murrow School of Communication back in the early 90s. So this is a college and a program that is near and dear to my heart. I like to say that I am a cougar through and through, all the way to the depths of my heart. So I'll start off by saying, of course, go Cougs. But as background real quick, I study how the brain processes media, and I've brought that research program to the College of Communication. We'll talk about that in a little more detail in just a couple minutes. But my position here in the Murrow College is Associate Dean of Research and Graduate Studies, where I oversee growing our research profile, advancing opportunities for very exciting research partnerships. And most importantly, I get the tremendous pleasure of supporting the most productive communication science, communication research faculty I've ever had the pleasure to work with. In my role as Associate Dean of Graduate Programs, I guide our graduate program and help foster growth in our graduate program. Graduate education is central to the mission of the Murrow College of Communication. We have a very exciting graduate programs at the master's and doctoral levels. You can reference and see some of our other videos that we've done specifically on those programs. But now, Mickinzie, I'm just really excited to talk about our research profile here in the Murrow College.
Great. Well, thank you so much for that introduction. I think the best way to get our information out there today is I actually compiled a few questions that we've had from faculty and students, and just some general questions that graduate students particularly might be asking as they look into future programs. So I think what we'll do is we'll kind of go back and forth here, and I'll ask you a few of those questions. And then at the end here, we'll close out with some additional resources. So for that first question, let's start with kind of talking about the rich history of the Murrow College. Truly, we have some of the most productive scholars in our field here in the Murrow College. So as our new Associate Dean of Research, what do you view as the current mission and state of research in our college here in Murrow?
So what excites me most about this current state of research in the Murrow College is that it indeed builds on an amazing history of, like you say, the most productive scholars in communication research. This history here in the Murrow College goes all the way back when we were just a school of communication, where we had, some of the most cutting edge leading scientists in our discipline working right here at the Murrow School of Communication. And here in my first year back in Pullman and back here at WSU, I am so pleased to see that history continues with our current faculty that are just doing amazing work. And so the current state of research in the Murrow College is that we are doing the most exciting, cutting edge research that advances the interests of both industry and society at large. Our overall mission for research that I like to have for our college is that we are a community of scholars that work collaboratively. We'll talk about that in a minute, but that we're a community of scholars that use multiple research methodologies. Communication is by nature an interdisciplinary field that requires answering complex problems that require multiple methodologies. So our mission focuses on a broad range of methodologies to answer the most important questions for industry and society. And we also are a college that does research with global impact and through global partnerships. That international aspect of our research profile is so critical, and it's going to be such a huge part of our DNA as we move into the future and grow research in the Murrow College of Communication.
Great answer. Thank you so much. I personally love hearing about our current state of our college, where we are and what our goals are. So I appreciate you sharing that with our prospective students as well. Just kind of tagging on what you just said, communication research really is relevant to a lot of areas in life. So in your opinion, what are the specific areas of research and methodologies that are strengths of the Murrow College?
Yeah, so communication, as you said, is obviously this very broad discipline that is central to so many important phenomena that have industry application, that have societal applications. Um, but like any communication program, obviously, in this field, no single program or no single research profile can address the entire range of communication research. And so we have some specific strengths here in the college. The broad areas that I would call our focus for research in the college are health communication, political communication, science communication, which includes both science and risk communication, as well as general media processes and effects related to new media technologies. And that's an important part of a strength of our college, is we really are looking at the future and looking at the role of current and yet to be invented media technologies and how that influences the way people experience communication across a broad range of phenomena. And so those are our strengths in the college. We have very exciting faculty. As I mentioned, we have the most productive faculty I've ever had the pleasure of working with in my 22-year career so far, and a unique strength of Murrow College researchers at the faculty level, as well as all the way down to our graduate and undergraduate student involvement in research, is that we're collaborative. That is a huge strength of this research team in the college, is that it is indeed a team of productive scholars. We've got amazing faculty like Erica Austin and Pori Bortsema. We're doing very exciting work together in the area of media literacy and political communication. We've got researchers like, for example, Stacy Hust and Jessica Willoughby doing amazing work together collaboratively around issues of sexual health, sexual assault, as an example of a highly relevant societal issue. But those are our strengths. We have these areas like health comm, political comm, risk comm, science comm, and general media processes and effects and new technology. But across those, we take a wide range of methodological approach. A very exciting methodology that is getting reintroduced into the college is what's called media psychophysiology. This is a very unique methodological strength of the Murrow College communication, because not every college has this strength and has this kind of facility to do media psychophysiological research. Media psychophysiology is a unique methodology that uses measures of human nervous system activity like heart rate, brain activity, facial muscle expression, to indicate how people are cognitively and emotionally processing media. So it's a unique way of really literally looking inside the human brain as individuals experience communication and drawing insight that other methodologies can't. And when you combine media psychophysiology with a multi-method approach, that just brings tremendous strength to everything we've been studying for decades in the Murrow College of Communication. In fact, by the way, one of the world's first media psychophysiology labs in communication was founded right here in the Murrow School of Communication in the late 1980s. So there we go again to our very rich history of cutting edge, most productive research faculty in the history of communication research. And so that's a methodology that I'm very excited to bring to the campus and in the college. And it takes unique equipment. We have the facilities to do that. For instance, we just recently were able to obtain a mobile psychophysiology lab that enables us to layer in this unique cutting edge methodology to questions in health communication, political communication, risk communication, media processes and effects, and take that research out into the field. In theory, we can do research anywhere on the face of the planet right now with this mobile psychophysiology lab. So those are some very specific strengths, and those are strengths that students and research partners can definitely tap into.
Great. Thank you so much, Paul. Everything that you're saying leads right into my next question. So I love the flow of this. You've already kind of briefly mentioned some of the current problems that society and that our world is facing, but can you give us some more specific examples of how research in the Murrow College of Communication helps address some of those problems?
This is going to be the most clearly no dust statement of this entire video, Mickinzie. COVID-19, the global health pandemic. We've got research faculty who are working on the cutting edge, the forefront of how communication plays a role in the impact of COVID-19 and the pandemic. And that's critical. Obviously, it's incredible and amazing that we have science developing vaccines and more effective treatments, and developing guidelines for the CDC and WHO. That obviously is critical. The hard science of navigating the horrific impact of this virus on the globe, all across the planet. However, this isn't yet a primary example of how central communication is to the most important problems facing society. You don't have to look very far to see how confusion, how a mess around messaging has played a role and had consequences for the impact of this virus on people all across the globe. And so communication is central, and we've got faculty who are right now developing cutting edge research that is designed to get at the heart of answering the question of how do we communicate more effectively to enhance people's safety, the safety of the public? How do we communicate effectively about a forthcoming vaccine where the science is very complicated? These are tricky questions. And if we don't get the communication right, then the science is going to fail us. And we've got faculty working on that very important problem. Other problems that we've got faculty working on that are incredibly relevant to today's issue is in the area of political communication. We've got faculty who are studying the impacts of partisanship and political extremism. We've got a very exciting new faculty member, Jordan Foley, who is on the cutting edge of understanding how political extremism functions and how individuals eventually adopt extremist and conspiracy mindsets, and studying that very important phenomenon as we navigate a very difficult and challenging political future, both as a country, but multiple countries across the globe are facing the similar environment from a political perspective. Also, just in the area of other broader health communication challenges, I myself am doing some work around the opioid addiction problem, and how, answering questions around how do we design effective messaging for supporting individuals who have already made that very courageous choice to enter a recovery program. So these are just some of the many, many examples of immediate, current, real world, practical problems that Murrow College research is focused at providing answers to, and gaining important insight that can help make life better for all of us. Edward R. Murrow himself was courageous and ethical and on the cutting edge of his profession. And that's exactly what Murrow College researchers are as well, is we're focused on the so what. We do theoretically rigorous, scientifically rigorous research that has a clear so what angle to it. We are interested in helping improve society and individuals and industry in our field.
Great. Thank you so much, Paul. I know that a lot of our undergraduate students particularly sometimes are wondering, what kind of research do we do in our college? They think, oh, is it just public speaking? Is it just related to, just public relations? But like you were talking about, it also has very, very strong ties to science as it comes to what you're studying, particularly what our communication faculty are looking into as far as COVID-19. So thank you so much for sharing those really specific examples. I think it'll get our students really excited and also give them some knowledge about how they can get involved in some of these processes as well. Related to something that you've mentioned a couple times with partnerships with the Murrow College, there are researchers that often partner with organizations or other individuals who are both inside but also outside of the field of academia. So, can you tell us about opportunities for research partnerships within the Murrow College?
Uh, As I mentioned before, Mickinzie, a clear strength of our research profile in the college is that we're collaborative. That, by definition, means we highly value and have a passion for forming partnerships around research. We're collaborative and form partnerships within the college, within the broader university, Washington State University, but also, as you mentioned, external to academia, to other universities across the nation and indeed across the world. Myself, I've developed research partnerships in Belgium, Germany, Spain, forthcoming partnerships in China. And so partnerships are critical to the future of Murrow College research. And we're highly interested in partnerships with industry partners, nonprofit partners. Because, again, by nature, communication science, communication research is at its heart interdisciplinary and takes multiple minds. It's true. Two heads are better than one. Actually, I would say more than two heads are better than one. And that's our approach to research partnerships. And so again, like I say, the future of research in the college is going to be partnerships that lead to cutting edge research that benefits society and industry.
Again, great answer. Thank you so much, Paul, for sharing that with us. I think it is exciting to hear about all the partnerships that we have, both within our community in the Murrow College, but also outside with other universities, other organizations. And I know a lot of our students, both undergraduate and graduate, are very interested in the nonprofit sector of communication research and communication industry. So very exciting to hear that we have some partnerships with that as well. So I think my next question ties in really well with that, and that is, what opportunities do our students have to increase the quality of their education through research experience in the Murrow College?
You just hit on my passion: research for the sake of student education and student experience, both at the graduate and undergraduate level. Um, in the Murrow College, the research environment for student experience is first and foremost built by faculty researchers who have an amazing passion for mentoring students through research experience. And so, and so first and foremost, it's those mentoring relationships for students that students can tap into and increase the value of their education. But research also requires resources and infrastructure. And here in the Murrow College, we're going to be on the cutting edge of research technology. I mentioned our mobile psychophysiology lab, but here in the college, we've got a focus group facility. We've got lab spaces for doing qualitative interviews. We've got survey lab. We've got a virtual reality lab for testing different kind of content delivered through VR. So we've got both the human resources in amazing faculty mentors, but we also have the technology and space resources to provide incredible experiences for students, both graduate and undergraduate. And I want to take just a second to speak specifically to undergraduate research experience. Graduate research experience, that's already baked in to master's and PhD programs, because by definition, those tend to be research degrees. I want to speak to undergraduate students that might be looking at this video. Research experience is one way for you to exponentially increase the value of your Murrow degree by going beyond the classroom. Research is going to be baked into courses, but where I've seen over my 22-year career in the incredible opportunities I've had to grow my own research lab that always involves a high number of undergraduate students, where I've seen that really improve their education, is there's no other experience in my mind like outside of the classroom rolling up your sleeves, getting your hands dirty, engaging with faculty and other graduate students in doing research. There's no other experience like that that sharpens analytical thinking skills. Whether you're going to go on to a graduate program as an undergraduate or you're going to go into the industry. Now more than ever, every organization on the face of the planet not only needs communication professionals that have the latest, greatest communication skills to serve the organization, but they need communication professionals that can solve problems, that can think analytically, and research experience sharpens that like no other educational experience.
I would totally agree with everything you said in that last answer, Paul. I have now earned my master's degree, but as an undergraduate, one of the most valuable experiences that I had was participating in an undergraduate research project, multiple projects actually, and it just sharpens those ideas of, okay, here's a problem. Let's look analytically, like you said, and critically about all the different ways we can solve this. So I completely agree that students need to get in there and get their hands dirty. And as you said, go beyond the classroom. I would also encourage our undergraduate students to take a look at a previous Murrow Minutes Goes Virtual video that we did about experiential learning, which we go over a lot of the opportunities in the Murrow College to expand that education and those opportunities, like Paul said, beyond the classroom. So Paul, I do want to start closing out this video here to let you get back to everything that you're starting to do here in the Murrow College. But really, I think the most important question of this whole video is, we've now piqued the interest of students, both undergraduate and graduate. So how can interested students and potential research partners learn more about the opportunities in the Murrow College of Communication? How do they get a hold of us?
Yeah, I get extremely passionate about research, as you can tell. And I hope that that passion has been contagious in this video. And so I hope you do want to reach out and learn more. There are several ways you can do that. To find out more about the exciting research in the Murrow College of Communication. One is at the beginning of fall semester, we launched Murrow Minds. Murrow Minds is our new online social media home for Murrow College research. You can follow us on Twitter and see Murrow Minds, hashtag Murrow Minds tweets specifically that are tweeting out the latest peer-reviewed journal publications by our faculty, that are tweeting out different research events, that are tweeting out different studies that are in progress. So a very easy way to follow and learn more about Murrow College research is through our social media channels like Twitter and Facebook, LinkedIn. And so I encourage you to follow Murrow Minds, learn more about Murrow Minds. On the Murrow College website, there's actually a page that's focused on Murrow Minds. And so you can follow that. But also, I think the best way to learn about research in the Murrow College of Communication is talk to us, reach out. You know, faculty who have a passion for mentoring love talking with people who are interested in their research. And that applies to students as well as partners. I encourage academic partners, industry partners, nonprofit partners, graduate students, undergraduate students, reach out to us, talk to us. I think you'll find a collection of faculty across the board that are not only cutting edge researchers, but have a passion for research and enjoy talking with people that are approachable, and that will be extremely excited to have people interested in what they're doing as a scholar. So really, I think that's the best way, is just talk to us, reach out to us. Myself, I'm happy to make introductions. That's part of my role as Associate Dean of Research. If you're interested in what I do and geeking out around studying how the brain processes media, obviously I'll be glad to talk your ear off about that. But I'm happy to make introductions to other scholars and other faculty in our college. Because at the end of the day, I'm passionate, I'm excited about where our research profile is headed. And obviously, I have a responsibility to grow that profile. So I'll do everything I possibly can to help do that. And that includes making introductions, connecting you to people who can talk to you about your own research interests and figure out how research in the Murrow College Communication can not only help you solve problems you might be facing in your job and career and the organization that you work at, but also potentially be a critical role that increases the value of your education.
Thank you, Paul. That was a fantastic answer to both our students and our industry and nonprofit partners that may want to look into, hey, how do we get a hold of this person doing this research? So I definitely want to make sure that we share some of our awesome resources that students and faculty and other research partners can get a hold of us. So at the end of this video, I will post my contact information. Again, my name is Mickinzie Johnson, and you can always schedule a phone or video appointment with me, and I'd be happy to connect you to Paul. I will also post Paul's information about how to get a hold of him through his office as well. And finally, we will also post our faculty and staff directory. So this is a public place where you can go read about what our faculty are actually doing throughout their careers in the Murrow College. And you can say, hey, I really, really relate to this person doing this research. I'd like to get a hold of them. And their contact information is listed there, but Paul or myself would be happy to help formulate those introductions like Paul said. So with that, I think that answers a lot of the questions that we get about research in the Murrow College. So I want to give a really big thank you to Dr. Paul Bolls for being here with us today and answering those questions. We're so excited to have him as a part of the Murrow family and a part of our research team and our graduate student team. So big thank you again to him and for everyone that's helping us get the Murrow College where we want to be. So if you have any questions, as Paul said, don't hesitate to reach out to us. And as always, stay safe, stay healthy, and go Cougs.
Go Cougs.